Hi, my name's Lisa. Today's practice is going to be something slightly different, wall yoga. So when you're ready, maybe pause me for a moment, grab your mat, take it to a wall. If you've got a couple of blocks, it's going to be really helpful for this practice, and as always, a bolster or just a pillow off your bed would be great. We're going to start in a forward fold, which can be quite tricky to get into. So this is where the blocks come in. Come to start to bring the backs of your legs against the wall, and you might just stay in a halfway lift for a moment. If that's really difficult, bring your feet away, so just your bottom is against the wall. And then you might go down in degrees using the blocks. Start to come to forward fold. And then as you get comfortable in the pose, you might start to take your ankles, your calf muscles, your thighs back against the wall. You might be thinking, why? On one level, it helps you to connect with the muscles, the backs of your legs. And they work in a slightly different way. I can't fold as deeply as I do when I'm just standing in the middle of the room, because I can't take my hips backwards. The wall is preventing that movement. So in some respects, it's less of a cheat. Just a couple of more breaths here. Hopefully I distracted you with lots of chitter chatter. You'll see that I've got my mat up against my floor. My skirting boards, they're quite high and knobbly, so that just gives me a bit of padding. And from here, I'm going to move into downward facing dog. So I'm just going to walk my hands away from me, keeping my heels against the wall. And when I feel like they might want to lift, I'm just going to then stay here. So I might not be in quite as long a downward facing dog as I normally am. Normally I can float to plank, although I can, just test it, and back again. It feels like quite a strong stretch into my hamstrings and calf muscles. The other version you can do of downward facing dog against the wall is to just come onto your toes, and so that your heels are up the wall. I don't know if that block is in the way. And this pushes your weight forward so that your forearms and biceps and shoulders are working a bit harder. I'm having to squeeze them in towards my ears to hold this here. So just a couple of breaths. Then I'm going to lower my knees and come to a sneaky little child's pose just for a moment. Just 3 breaths. And then the next pose is quite grunty too. It's a thigh stretch. Again, you're going to want something to put your weight against, and blocks are ideal. So come up onto your knees, take one foot against the wall, and one foot in front. And then you're going to take your foot up the wall, the knee is quite near the skirting board, and the other one can come forward to keep you balanced. then it's depending on the degree of sensation you want, whether that's feeling quite a lot there, forward. If I go back, it will get more intense. You might be able to get to the point where your glute is quite close to your heel. You can use your blocks or hand on the knee. This is quite a big thigh stretch. You always have the option to stay down on your hands, have less. Won't stay there for too long. Let's come to the other side. The biggest thing with this is getting into it. So sometimes it's easier to push your knee and just kind of walk or manhandle the other leg forward. Second side's always the best, as you know, you can compare. So either coming up or staying wherever your window of tolerance is. This is great if you're a runner, cyclist, uphill walker. I don't think I've managed any other thigh stretch that really quite gets into that quad muscle in the same way. And then I'm going to awkwardly come out and come down into Sphinx pose. And both my knees are against the skirting, my feet are against the wall, arms out in front. And as I push down on my elbows and forearms, my hands are active. My finger pads are pulling back towards me. My neck is attempting to grow longer. My shoulder blades are pulling down my back. And your knees can be fairly active and push into the wall, which in turn makes the glutes a bit more active. You can just breathe into belly. The benefit of using the wall is it connects you to each shape, pose in a slightly different way. We can get very used to what we feel in each shape. And so suddenly it might turn on a different muscle, relax a different tendon, ligament. Okay, just take your arms out long, take your forehead down towards the ground. I'm just going to stack my hands underneath my forehead. Just 2 rounds of breath here. And then it gets a little bit more relaxing from here. So turn onto your back and take both feet to the wall. You should almost, if you just turn straight over, be in exactly the right spot. And again, by pushing against the wall with your feet, you can connect to your lower back. You can push more of your spine against the ground and just feel something slightly different. We're going to do figure of 4 here. So taking whichever leg you want to do first, ankle across the knee. You leave one foot exactly where it was against the wall, and take your hand and either push against the knee, the thigh, to feel into the hip, the glute. What I really like about figure 4 against the wall is it takes all the strain out my shoulders and my neck In fact, I'm going to take a block and stick it under my head just for even more comfort. And so it then is just about the hip and the glute. Nothing else is working. Which means I can concentrate on really calming breaths. And I can concentrate on trying to relax and stretch right into the deeper muscles in my glutes. Not just the surface ones. And then because everything feels quite good and relaxed, I can squeeze my pelvic floor muscles and hold them for a few breaths and then relax. And just for good measure, do that again, squeeze. And there's front muscles and back muscles with your pelvic floors, by the way. So squeeze both and relax. And then we're just going to take both feet back to the wall. Trying to get in those little moments of rebound in between each side. And then we'll come to the other leg. Taking ankle across knee. Remember to push the thigh away from you on the other side. And then after a few rounds of breath of just getting comfortable, again, see what you notice. Can you bring your focus right in deep? Can you really feel the lower back muscles relax? Can you feel the connection of each vertebrae against your mat? Can you feel your ribs relax? The back of your neck. And then we'll squeeze your pelvic floors on this side a couple of times. So squeeze the front, squeeze the back, hold, and then release. And again, squeezing, holding, and release. And then bring both feet to the wall. And you can kind of do windscreen wipers here. Take your arms wide. Sort of. Our next pose though, moving on, you're going to have to shuffle your bottom right up to the wall. We're not going to do legs up the wall quite yet. I'm going to keep the block under my head. You can do butterfly here. I'm not going to do that today. You could add it into your practice. We're going to do half dragonfly. So one leg, for me that's my left leg, has gone out long and my upper leg is going to stay bent. So it's just about one leg at the moment. And see how that feels. For people who find a seated wide leg forward fold difficult, this is a very good alternative. It takes the lower back out. It becomes all about the inner thigh muscles. Flex the foot on your extended leg a few times and see what difference that makes. And then we're going to swap. Again, keep the foot on the extended leg flexed. activate your quad muscles. Pull your knee up towards your hip. Be aware of what your lower back is doing. And then from here, the very logical add-on is Dragonfly, so both legs come out straight. And here, and I'm going to move my arms that way so you can see, you can push your pelvis away from you so that you come into a cow type back. I can stick my hands under my lower back, lifting my heart, pushing my hips up. And then as I exhale, I can release all of that. My belly, whole of my lower back comes to the ground. You can just do that a few times. My feet are still flexed, lifting and lowering. Be as big or as small as you want it to be. And then I'm going to come to stillness. I'm going to let the flex of my feet go. And so when you're thinking about poses, and forward folds can be quite inaccessible for lots of people. And if the purpose of the pose is to stretch and activate inner thighs, then doing it against the wall is a very logical place to do it. Why irritate the lower back when it's not even required for the target area? Just one breath left here. And then our next very logical place to go is legs up the wall. I'm going to lift each leg into place. A shuffle a little bit closer so that I really feel like my legs are there. And then that bolster that I've not used, I'm going to put on top of my feet. And that keeps my feet flexed. You'll see my legs are quite wide. And just adds a little bit of weight and helps seat the hip bone back into the hip joint, which again, that's our target. We're after releasing everything around the hips, taking away the stresses of the day, allowing that area to really relax without activating the lower back at all. I do this pose when I have difficulty sleeping. It's lots of yoga teachers' favourite pose. It's really delicious if you put a blanket across your belly and stay for up to 10 minutes. We're just going to have a few more breaths here. And then start to bend your knees. Just take your arms big the side of your feet. Take it away. And take your feet against the wall as low as they go. Coming into an Apanasana. And again it feels different. The feet have that connection, almost like you are standing on the ground. You can push your tailbone away, push your feet into the wall and extend through the neck. You might even lift the neck and the shoulders up. And then from there I'm going to come on to my side. Nestle my head against my arm. Always taking this moment to be grateful for my practice, be grateful for my yoga mat, my yoga room, for everybody who comes and watches and joins in. If you want to come up to a seated position, bring your hands to Anjali Mudra. Bringing thumbs to third eye, thanking your ancestors and your teachers, those who came before you. To your lips, thanking yourself, and to your heart, thanking Mother Nature, the universe. Namaste.